Hey guys, this is Matt. Welcome back to the channel. And believe it or not, I think we're down to the last few days of the interior rebuild on the FD. With all the major trim in the back of the car installed, really all that's left is the seats, center console, and the last few things with the dash and the door cards, which the door cards kind of are going to need a lot of extra love, so I'm probably going to address all that in a separate video. I don't necessarily need those to drive the car, and maybe if I get time before the weekend, I'll be able to get those done as well. Today, I need to get focused on the last of the items that I need to get kind of like painted or refurbished, just so I can give those things time to dry and get ready to get back in the car. So really, it's just down to lots of scrubbing and cleaning. There are a few things I need to address, so let me show you what I got on the bench today. Starting with this pile of stuff here, this is basically all the components for the Ebrake. Where there was a fire in the car, the Ebrake sensor switch is melted and messed up, so I've got a brand new replacement to take care of that. It's got some surface rust, but I think I'll mostly be able to clean this up and not have to do too much. I did go ahead and pull the boot off just because I wanted to gauge, make sure this was not something I needed to order and replace the entire assembly, but basically I just pulled the boot back. There was a wire on there, popped the wire off, and just kind of slid off. Now I do have a new Alcantara boot to replace this one, and we'll go through all that when we get there, but really this just needs a good cleaning. I also have a new handle cover. It doesn't feel soft or there's like any internal issues with the handle, but it definitely is not pretty, so I'll need to get this cleaned up and get the new Alcantara handle cover put on this, and really that'll kind of wrap that up, and so then I can get ready to put this back in the car. Here I just have a lot of little miscellaneous pieces. This is the clamshell that goes around the steering column and some little things. Now I found these in the process of taking the car apart. They have a texture on them, so they're obviously in some place that can be, that's visible, but I'm not sure. There's a left and a right side version. If you guys have any idea where those might go, leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, they'll just be mystery to me because I don't even know where I found them. I don't know if they came out of a panel or if I found them laying around inside the car. I'm not sure, but I got two of them. No idea where they go. Footrest pedal just needs to get cleaned up, and all that stuff just gets cleaned up, put back in the car. It's not a big deal. Over here, I have my center console trim, which this is the original one to my car, which has that smooth, kind of shiny, rubbery texture. So I'm just going to replace it with a textured one that I picked up pretty cheap. Plus, this one's in better condition. It does have a leather boot, which I think it's in okay shape, but I do have an Alcantara one to replace that, so I'll do that as well. This just really needs to be cleaned up. It's really dirty on the underside. I won't show you, but it needs a lot of cleaning. This one I'll just hold on to, and then the trim that actually goes over the tunnel, my other one has some broken tabs. It also had some fire damage, so I just picked up a whole new one. That's actually a pretty good find, and it'll look great in the car when it's all said and done. And then probably one of the biggest things I have left to do is address this, some people call it the radio bezel or the aircon bezel or whatever. It's the center bezel, and this is where the head unit sits inside the car. I do have some broken tabs, which I might try to fabricate new ones just so I have something to bolt it back into the car and keep it nice and secure. But I need to get this completely disassembled so that I can clean this this front trim. There's also probably some cleaning and things and new lights and whatever else needs to go on in behind here. But for the most part, I need to get this apart so I can get all this cleaned up. I'll probably just paint it for now. I know it won't match the textured finish, so once I paint it, it'll probably look better than at least it does now. And then in the future, I can keep my eye out for a new one. So I think my order of work is gonna have to be the things that I'm gonna need to drive the car. So like the HVAC bezel probably is gonna need the most time considering what I have to do for it, but I can drive the car without the bezel, and that's easy enough to pop in after everything else is in. I also am in the process of painting the shifter and getting all that rebuilt, so I'll show you all that later, but for now I can go ahead and get the center console cleaned up so it can be ready to pop back in the car once the shifter is rebuilt. So I think I'm gonna start on this Ebrake, start getting everything cleaned up, and then I'll check back in a second. So one of the first things I need to do, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this factory boot taken off this plastic trim, which is, plastic trim kind of secures the boot in place. So it's basically just held on with all these little staples around the perimeter. So I'm gonna go around and just try to pop those out. I've got some picks and screwdrivers and pliers and whatnot to get that out. So just gonna go around, pop all these staples out, and then hopefully that'll free that from this plastic ring. I'm surprised they were able to staple those through this plastic. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to staple it with any kind of stapler that I have, or if I'll just need to like enlarge these holes and potentially just thread it on there. And I did take some time to document the orientation of this boot, because I don't think the new one that I have is cut identical to this one. I'll need to keep this for reference because I'll probably have to make some adjustments with the new boot that I've got. But for now, I'll get this plastic trim cleaned up and then start cleaning up some of these other parts before we get that installed. One thing that I've always noticed about the car is that it has always had a very strong smell of like vanilla. There were some air fresheners in the car when I got it. I think I found the source of the smell. It looks like there's some sort of material kind of caked all inside the shifter, and I mean, that's definitely it. It has a very strong kind of vanilla smell. So I don't know how all of that got inside the shifter. I mean, I wouldn't think that's grease or anything. So I don't know if there was like an air freshener in the car when it caught fire and somehow it just, I don't know how it would have ended up inside the Ebrake handle, because this would have been upside down. So I don't know if it just blew up inside there or what. But anyway, this is gonna take a little while to clean up. The boot and the handle cover I picked up from Redline Goods, and this is Alcantara with grabber blue stitching. I've already test fit this on here and it's quite loose. It's definitely baggy all around. It's not terrible. There's a little bit of play there. You know, it didn't really come with instructions, and the instructions on the website seem to be for a cover that has stitching so that you can basically glue this side, install it, and then stitch it up as tight as you need to. Where this is already pre-made, I don't really know what the difference is. I don't know if this is like just been compressed over time and maybe it's just a little smaller. I think what I can do is get it on there as snug as I can, and I'll try to apply a little bit of adhesive to be able to tuck this down in and around the button. And then of course, when the shifter boot's on, it'll cinch down tight up here. What I might do is take Tessa tape and do a couple wraps around the center of the handle just to add some thickness, and maybe that'll help take up some of the slack. And then, you know, maybe use some adhesive to help pull it down. I had thought about maybe putting on another piece of material like felt or something onto here, which would certainly make that thicker and make that have a much tighter fit. What I'm gonna do is just, like I said, put some rolls of tape, do some glue around the where the button goes, and then attach it here at the end. And I think that'll hold pretty well. I don't know if you can see, there is probably like maybe a 1/4 inch of extra material. Anyway, I'm gonna take some time and try to figure this out, and then once I have a good solution, I'll check in and let you guys know. What I found in my case was 3 tight wraps with about a half overlap per wrap of felt Tessa tape took out almost all the slack that there was the handle cover. I could probably go a 4th one, and that would probably be perfect. I mean, it would be extremely tight, and I don't think it would have it wouldn't be loose at all. It's almost difficult to get on and off with the 3 wraps. What I'll end up doing now is taking some spray adhesive and coating pretty much the end. I'll block this off so I don't get any glue down inside, and probably put a little bit back here as well. I know you're supposed to apply it to both surfaces, but considering that I'm only gonna I don't really have good access to this, I'll just go ahead and just put some on the end here and some on the back, install it, and then try to tuck it all in. So I'll get this taped up so I don't get glue on the parts I don't want to get glue on, and then I'll get some adhesive sprayed on. Okay, so I just sprayed some adhesive on here. I tried to get it around the end as good as I can, and then just a little bit here on the back. So now I should be able to take this tape off. And I did end up spraying a little bit on just the inside of this, the best I could. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. It's gonna be a booger trying to get it past the end here. All right, so I've got this inverted and I've got all the glue on here, and it's already starting to set up. So I'm gonna try to hurry, and if I don't get it all on camera, I apologize, but I gotta try to get this on before the glue sets up too much. Just trying to get this on as snug as I can. I don't want a lot of material up here at the end. It'll be hard to get around the button. I realized that was probably the worst filming job ever in the history of YouTube, but it started getting hectic, so I had to kind of focus on getting this on. It's fully secured, and it's actually nice and, I mean, there's really no, it's not loose at all. It's really snug. And turning this inside out and then sliding it over, because otherwise it just is going to catch on too much of the adhesive that you've got on there. So I've got the stitching, right along what would be the top outside. I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. Now, there's a groove right here where the shift boot will actually go and secure in. So right there, all of that is, that is really nice. And then this will have a wire or a zip tie holding it down right there. So it'll be nice and secure. And anywhere that I was kind of lacking on adhesive, I just sprayed a little bit on a piece of paper and smeared it so that I could try to tuck these under. It's not perfect, but it is a little bit of a, the cut on this cover is a little bit loose and it didn't quite fit snugly. Anyway, with a little fiddling, I think that'll be just fine for me. And I went ahead and put the button on so I could test to make sure I got the whole thing assembled properly. I'll go ahead and attach the new sensor that I've got, and I might need to go ahead and get a little bit more grease on some of these joints. That'll be all I need to do for this. I decided to go ahead and cut the video right here. The handle on that Ebrake feels awesome. This Tessa tape really has been a lifesaver on the whole rebuild of this car, but it did work really well in filling up that extra space that I had in the handle. So I'll put a link down in the description below. Like I said, I keep this stuff around all the time. I always find a use for it, but because it's felt, it really grabbed onto it. And I would say that maybe if you did a fourth wrap of this tape and slid the handle down over, it might be snug enough without having to put a bunch of adhesive on. You still want to put some adhesive around the button just to kind of hold all that and kind of wrap it around. By the time you get all that secured, maybe just doing 4 wraps of the Tessa tape might be enough to hold it in place. So I don't know. I went ahead and used some adhesive to make sure it stayed, but just a tip that if you don't have adhesive or don't want to fool with it, that maybe just the tape would be enough. So the next thing we got to do is go ahead and put the new boot that I've got over the rest of the Ebrake handle. So that'll definitely be in the next video. And if you haven't already, you should go ahead and follow me on Instagram or Facebook, because you can actually see more up-to-date photos of the build, because some of this stuff is being filmed and released at a later time. So anyway, if you want to see where the car currently stands today, or some of the updates that I've got on the car, go check me out on those. I've got links to those down in the description below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate your guys' support. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'd really appreciate if you consider it. We're really getting close to 10,000 subscribers, and I know it's really just a number and it means nothing to nobody, but for me it's kind of motivation to keep on going and hopefully improve and make my content better. So anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please consider it. And that's going to be all for me tonight. I'll catch you guys in the next one.